are going to start, we're going to be in red hymn books today, and we are going to start with 707. Our next hymn is number 701, and this is a new one for me, so sing loud. Our final song is 558, and we're just going to do the first 3 verses.
When the journey is long and we hunger and thirst, bread of life, you sustain us. When the road is hard and our bodies weak, bread of life, you heal us. When our spirits are low and we can't carry on, bread of life, you revive us. When we offer our hand in love and service, bread of life, you bless us. When the challenge is great and the workers are few, bread of life, you empower us. When the victory is won and we see your face, bread of life, you will rejoice with us. Now, if you would greet each other in the peace of Christ. Spend a little time in silent prayer. Let's remain seated as we join together in the Faith We Sing book, and let us be bread.
In our time of silent prayer, if you have any prayer requests, we will respond with, Lord have mercy, hear our prayer. I'd like to offer up my brother who is in Peace Hospice in Wyoming. Lord have mercy, hear our prayer. Lord have mercy, hear our prayer. If you will now join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
We now have a video concerning the stewardship campaign and using PushPay.
Good morning, First United Methodist Church, Great Falls. Today, I have the honor of introducing some short videos to help explain one of the exciting new programs we're now using at churches across the Yellowstone Conference, including right here at First UMC Great Falls. Over the last month or so, you've heard Pastor Nancy speak briefly about a new means to securely and quickly give to the important ministry of our church. Of course, I'm talking about PushPay. Many of you already utilize services through your banks or credit unions that provide electronic bill payment services, online account access, and even smartphone or tablet apps. PushPay is the logical connection between those now familiar services and your giving via the weekly offering. A number of you have taken advantage of the online giving we offered through Vanco, allowing you to have your tithe automatically deducted from your bank account, whether you were present in worship, visiting family, or off playing tennis tournaments. Okay, maybe that last one was just me. Anyway, PushPay provides for that same convenience, but adds more options for funding your gifts and exponentially increases the speed at which you can donate, all from any connected device, whether that be your smartphone, your tablet, and your laptop or desktop computers. Let's watch this brief video borrowed from another church that also utilizes PushPay.
Hey, did you bring any money for the offering?
No. Did you bring the checkbook?
Yeah, I brought it. In 1999. You don't have any cash?
Who carries cash? think they want a Chipotle gift card?
Well, a dinosaur ate my checkbook, but I would like that Chipotle card. Have you ever tried PushPay?
Push what?
PushPay. It's an app that lets you give using your smartphone.
Ouch.
You can use it to give at church, but we like to give every time we get a paycheck, so we know how much is left over for shoes.
Do you link it to your credit card or something?
Sure, you can link it to your debit or credit card and give when you choose, or you can set it up like bill pay and give automatically.
Why can't your mom be as hip as this lady?
Just keep talking.
Let's face it, most of us don't carry cash or checks these days. So we've made giving to Christ Church as simple as shopping on Amazon. Just download the PushPay app, search for Christ Church, and then add a payment method. You can link it to your credit card or bank account and set up a one-time or recurring gift. So, ready to give?
Okay, we're back. Many of us, especially those of a younger generation, don't carry cash, don't carry a checkbook, but also don't go anywhere without a smartphone. As that video demonstrated, you can easily give on-demand gifts during worship or special events, even if you don't have anything except your phone. Maybe the youth have a fundraiser they announced and you'd like to donate to it. Now you don't even have to wait until you get home and then forget to write that check for them. Maybe you heard about our ministry with Family Promise and decided you'd like to make a special gift to assist with that vital community outreach. Maybe you were so moved by the beautiful performances of our talented musicians and choir and want to help support their continued gift of song. Now you can do all that in just 10 seconds from your phone. And finally, let's watch our last video, which has been created for us by the PushPay team and is one of several videos on the giving page of our church website. As you can see from that brief clip, PushPay is not only for those of you with smartphones. You can give securely and nearly as quickly from the comfort of your own home and computer as well. Now, as excited as we are to be able to provide the fantastic services of PushPay to you as supporters of our church, we recognize that many of you are faithful givers who simply prefer to utilize good old hard cash or checks, and that is totally okay. Choose the method of giving that best fits your personal style. For those of you who would like more information on the specifics of PushPay or want to begin giving with PushPay right away, we have a handout for everyone today, which is taken straight from the giving page on our church website. Thank you for your time this morning, and thank you, most importantly, for your generous financial support of the ministry here at First United Methodist Church, Great Falls.
Will you join me in the unison prayer? Bread of life, you feed us through word and sacrament. The bread we share, a remembrance of your presence with us. Strengthen us for service, that seeds we sow in fertile places might grow and flourish, that food we share in fellowship might nourish and revive, that words we share in our daily walk may glorify your name. Bread of life, you feed us through word and sacrament, that we might feed others. Blessed be your name. You may be seated.
When you came in this morning, everyone was given a pack of yeast, and that's kind of our whole theme today. Later we're going to hear in our first scripture reading about how yeast works to help us to grow and to be good disciples. So I ask you for this next week to think how you can be the yeast in someone else's life, how you can help them to grow in their faith, or how you can grow in your own faith. So this week, be a little yeast and help someone grow.
All things wise. reading is from the Gospel of Luke. He said, therefore, "What is the kingdom of God like? And to what should I compare it? It is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in the garden. It grew and became a tree, and the birds of the air made nests in its branches." And again he said, "To what should I compare the kingdom of God? It is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened."
Let us join in singing "Great is Thy Faithfulness," page 140 in the United Methodist Hymnal. Our gospel reading this morning is from Matthew 5, verses 1 through 15, the Beatitudes. I think next to the 23rd Psalm, this is one of my favorite readings from the Bible. Now, when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled by men. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. The word of God for the people of God. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Today, Mary Bryant and I will be sharing some of our reflections on our life in the church. I don't have anything prepared, so if I ramble on, excuse me. There is a lot I would like to say, and I may forget some of what I wish to say. But I'm really loving the theme of the bread of life, because when I woke up many, many mornings in my home growing up, I smelled bread or dinner rolls or cinnamon rolls or raised donuts or cookies or pies. And that, to me, was a sign of love. My mother's love for all of us, providing treats for us, and believe me, she shared them with everyone else too. We didn't have fellowship hour in church when I was young, but they started having it later, and everyone always looked forward to the Sunday my mother had signed up for coffee hour, because they got raised donuts or cinnamon rolls. So they looked forward to Bertha's treats. I grew up attending, the first Methodist church I attended was in Cascade, and I was about 5 years old, and we had been attending worship midweek at the one-room country schoolhouse that was right next to our home. And the American Sunday School Union came out, and there was a pastor that provided worship then. The thing I remember about him is we sat on these hard old benches, and I was little, and he would sing. He had this amazing voice, and his wife played the piano, and it was like honky-tonk hymns. They were really jazzy. And so he would open up his mouth and sing, and all I could see is his gold fillings in his teeth. So I kind of had this idea that all pastors had gold fillings in their teeth. But then we went to the church in Cascade, and there was a new pastor there, and my mom, surprisingly, had never been baptized, even though my two older sisters had. But then my next older sister and I, we were 7 and 5, and we were baptized, and our mom was baptized with us. And we lived out in the country, so we didn't see a lot of people, and most of them were relatives. So he was a stranger to us, and I don't think we would have been very calm through that baptism if our mother hadn't been being baptized too, because she was there holding our hands. But it was kind of interesting, because my older sister was about 13 then, and she was saying that she could see him during most of the worships, and he would be kneeling down behind the lectern and reading from things. So she thought he was kind of cheating, but I think he just needed a little confidence with that. So we attended that church for a long time, and every Sunday morning in our home, one of us would usually be practicing the hymns that my dad had selected for Sunday school songs that day, because all of us had had piano lessons. So luckily, some of us knew the hymns in advance and could practice, because some of us didn't practice as much as we should. and it was nice to be a little more familiar with the hymn. So he was Sunday school superintendent for a long, long time, and my mom was a faithful attender of church. She was part of United Methodist Women, which initially was called Women's Society for Christian Service. And always Sunday was church day. So it was just one of those things we'd do. She'd put a roast in the oven, get the potatoes all peeled and ready. And when we came home, she'd put the potatoes on to cook and the other vegetables. And that was our Sunday. Sometimes we'd take a little drive, but mostly that was how we spent Sunday, was at church. And that was such an amazing upbringing to me, and I'm sure many of you have had the same kind of upbringing. And we didn't, amazingly, we didn't say grace at every meal. We didn't pray a lot. We didn't read the Bible, but we had some bedtime stories that were read to us that had a Bible verse with them and had a Bible theme. And so we grew up on those, and we grew up on saying, "Now I lay me down to sleep." And in the morning we'd say, "Now I wake and see the light." So we had those prayers hanging on the wall. Someone had beautifully cross-stitched them, and they were framed and hung up on the wall. So that I was going to that church and was in a confirmation class when I was about 16 and joined the church at that time. And that was the time I had the experience in our discussions during confirmation class. I felt like, oh, this all makes sense. And I think I had what was the strange warming of the heart that Wesley talks about. And from then on, I really felt more connected to God and Jesus. And that really has sustained me a lot throughout my life. Just the confidence in knowing that God and Jesus are there for me. Then when I went off to college, we went to First United Methodist Church in Billings. It wasn't United Methodist yet then. And it wasn't such a family as that church in Cascade was, or as this church is now to me, because my sister and I really didn't become that involved in things. We went on Sunday mornings. But there was this nice older couple in the pew where we sat that the first Sunday we weren't there, we would come home once a month just to see family. And when we came back the next week, they just said, "Oh, are you okay? Were you sick?" And so that was our family initially. It was that pew. And in that church, the registration forms were passed from one side to the other and signed up, and then you passed it back so people could see the names of the persons that were sitting in the pew with them. So that was kind of a nice way to get acquainted. Nobody wore name tags, and we passed the peace, but only to the people that were near us. So then, after I got out of college, came back to Great Falls to teach, and I was living on 10th Street South, only a couple blocks away from Sunnyside United Methodist Church. So that's where we attended. I started walking over there because it was really close, and then I met my husband, and he was attending there with me. And one of the fun things we did at that church was be the leaders for the youth group. And there were just a few, but we had a really good time with that. The pastor arranged for us to visit some of the other denominations here in town, and the person in charge there, somebody, would talk to us and explain some of their feelings and beliefs. So we went to St. Anne's, we went to the Episcopal Church, we went to a Lutheran church, and just kind of figured out how we felt compared to some of the other denominations. Then we also took a tour, and we went to Helena, went to the Intermountain Children's Home. We went to Bozeman and visited in the Wesley House there, and went to what was called the Deaconess Retirement Home, I think at that time. I'm not sure what it's called now. And went over to Billings and toured around Rocky Mountain College. And those are some of our connectional things through the conference. So that was interesting to me, because until you get involved in things, a lot of what's going on is pretty foreign to you. So what I have always felt is that church is my family, and that's the way I feel about you. I love you and I appreciate you, and I'm always happy to see everyone that's here. I have gotten involved in a lot of different things, serving on committees and things like that, which has opened my eyes to seeing what is being done in the church and learning more about our conference connections and things like that, which are important. So I choose to support this church with my presence, my gifts, my prayers, my witness, and my service. And the reason for that is you support your family, and this is one of my families. So there are many things we need to support with the church, and a lot of them are really important, but we do need to pay the bills. So we need to maintain this beautiful building, which is not an inexpensive endeavor. And we need to have personnel that are helpful. We have a pastor that leads us and helps us stay on track. We have a music director who uses her education and talents to give us inspiring music. And we have custodians who keep the church clean with love, because they are members too. So there are those kinds of things, plus our conference connections. We have apportionment payments that help maintain those things, like the Rocky Mountain College, the Intermountain Children's Home, and our district superintendent, who travels around and makes sure that all the churches are staffed with pastors. So that is one of the reasons I give. Another reason is that I cannot do it myself. And if we are all sharing in doing this with love, then these kinds of things happen that we are a part of, like Family Promise and our holiday dinners, just a lot of things that we don't even think about. We are really a generous church. And I think the reason for that is that we all love God and love one another. And I have this, I don't know if any of you know who Steve Garnis Holmes is, but he writes a little devotional, inspirational, almost every day of the week. And he is such a great poet, and the things he says are really timely with the kinds of things we're doing with Scripture and stuff. And so since we've just had Easter, and we're still in the season of Easter, he used the Bible verse, John 20:25. Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands and put my finger in the mark of the nails and my hand in his side, I will not believe. And he says, it's not that I don't believe, it's just that I don't feel you solid right here. And sometimes, Lord, I need to. I need you more than I have you. I don't hear your voice calm and clear and sweet in my ear like some people do. And I want to. I know you are here, but I want to feel you. Forgive my neediness, but beloved, come to me. You give me this grace that faith is not certainty, but turning toward you. You teach me to hear you in the silence within, to see you where I do see you, to feel your wounds in the wounds of the world. So I reach out my hand. I reach out my hand. I reach out my hand. Now, Mary Bryant will speak with us.
And thank you, Louise, for that good message. I was kind of asked to tell you why the church is important to me. I have to warn you that when I talk a lot. When I write a lot. I'm even the kind of person whose Christmas letter goes to 2 pages when I haven't been anywhere. So, I think I was headed here long before I got here. It reminds me of the Bible verse that begins, "I know the plans I have for you." I'm going to give you a little background on me first. I'm 87 years old and have been a member of this church for almost 66 years. I was born on a farm southeast of Chinook. I had 1 brother and 1 sister, both older than I, and my parents drove us 7 miles each week for Sunday school and morning worship. I remember dropping my pennies in the bell tower of a little wooden church and singing Sunday school songs like "Jesus wants me for a sunbeam" and "Jesus loves me." I also remember the feeling I had the day I joined the church when I was 10 years old. It's like the part of our song when we baptize babies, "Mary, Mary, God claims you." Until I started high school, I attended a 2-room country school with many of my cousins, and the big events were countywide track meets and flag contests. Our church had a youth group of 10 or 12 kids and met on Sunday nights. All of us were very busy, like you are in a small town high school, when you can belong to everything, and I did. Our parents, being wise parents, realized that we needed broader experiences and sent us to church camp at Kings Hill Camp near Nyhart, where our church had built a cabin. Cabins were built by individual churches, but meant to be shared. As a 7th grader from a country school, I somewhat stood in awe of the kids who seemed to know their way around, and I didn't really explore the whole camp right away. The classrooms, chapel, dining hall, and volleyball court were in the middle of the 2 sections, and that was all I needed. It was a great experience from the very beginning. I continued as a counselor, as a camper through grade 12, and then became a camp counselor while in college. During the years in high school and through camp and convo connections, I was elected to the state youth cabinet, and I got to know more and more wonderful people. My story really begins the 2nd year I was a counselor. Nancy asked me to share with you how Lou and I met and the early years of our relationship with the church. In 1949, Lou, who was from Philadelphia, was on a concert tour for the Methodist churches and was persuaded to remain an extra week to play his accordion at camp. He was quite a celebrity, and we managed not to get acquainted until the very last day of camp. When we finally met, we really clicked. After I put my cabin of girls to bed, we stayed up most of the night talking, and it seemed as if our lives had been planned for those moments. The next day, we rode the bus back to Chinook and he on to Scobie, and our attraction to each other became very strong. At camp, a new minister at First United Methodist Church chose a fellow camper, a girl from Chinook, to be his church secretary. Part of her salary was a 2-room apartment on the 3rd floor of the parsonage. When I came to Great Falls in September with a job and no place to live, she invited me to share that 2-room apartment. I lived in the parsonage for 9 months, and the Cook family of 4 and an elderly lady working as education director lived on the 2nd floor. Then Lou moved back to Montana to his new job at Cobb's Piano House and to pursue our relationship. He rented a sleeping room and ate dinners with Lola and me. It worked out fine. We were all within walking distance of our work. Our romance blossomed, We became engaged at Christmas time and were married in June. Then we were on to another 2-room apartment upstairs close to downtown. The church became a natural focal point for us. We began attending a young adult group that met on Sunday nights, and the church provided friendship and fellowship when we were new in town. The churches we had come from were from small congregations. Lou, a small neighborhood church in Northeast Philadelphia, and mine, a Brother Van church in Chinook. Yet we were welcomed warmly here. We have outlived most of the people that were in that young adult group, but our friendships remained very strong over the years. During this same time, we began participating with the minister in developing the youth group. I wasn't in town very long before somebody, and I don't remember who, decided I should work in the state youth program and asked me to be the sub-district director. There were about 10 or 12 surrounding churches in all directions from Great Falls that constituted the sub-district. My goal for that group was to develop a connectional system, the connectional system that we have, and to help the individual youth groups to feel a part of it. Several times a year, different churches would host a youth gathering, pulling in the youth and their leaders from all around. We planned, we organized, and they came in large numbers and got to know each other. We were able to involve lots of kids who hadn't been to camp to be a part of something bigger than what they had at home. In 1951, the church changed pastors, and Reverend Marvin Adams was appointed here. He was a dynamic speaker, and the congregation pursued plans for a new sanctuary. While that building was being the current building was being demolished and the present sanctuary being built, we met for worship in what was then the DeMolay building, just up the avenue 2 blocks. The rest of this building to the east of us was kept very busy, and church life continued without missing a step. Existing groups continued, the church was bursting at the seams, and we were so ready for the new building when it was dedicated in 1955. Reverend Marvin Adams never did get to share the building he helped build. He was transferred that year to lead a large congregation in Boulder, Colorado, and Bernard Hanks was appointed here. He came from Colorado. Bernard was a gold mine of ideas and a mastermind of getting people to take on new responsibilities and to feel good about doing them. Working with him was like being on a treadmill. Things were moving very fast, and I began to wonder what I could do if I really had the time. So I quit my job and began investing more hours in the life of the church. In the fall of 1956, I was asked to take on a new half-time position on the church staff, a director of special activities with no job description. My work was to be supportive of almost everything in progress and to use my energy and imagination in creating new experiences. The church had a music director, a Sunday school superintendent, a very well-organized program of children's choirs, and a huge program for Boy Scouts. They didn't need me, but the youth program was ready to expand like a balloon, and that became a major part of my work. I loved the teenagers, and we developed a very large high school group. We followed with 3 separate MYFs, one with each grade, 9th, 8th, and 7th, each with a separate team of adult sponsors, beautifully committed people. And each spring we added a 6th grade MYF to prepare the kids for camp, and developed a program by which each youth could earn points for money towards camp. The sponsors met together with me once a month to share ideas, map out plans, go over materials, and discuss some of the rough spots they had encountered, but everybody hung tough. The high school group was amazing. They turned out in droves every Sunday night, and they cared deeply about each other. One of the things that I have always felt was important in a church was inclusiveness, and the kids got it. Everybody was important. More and more new kids showed up, and the officers developed a program where everybody was immediately placed into a subgroup. The subgroups took separate responsibilities each week: recreation, worship, program, and treats. In addition, we had lots of special activities: cake baking contests, sock hops, other dances, picnics, roller skating, sledding, Easter sunrise services, New Year's Eve services, sacrificial meals, and sock hops and other dances. Anything was worth a try. And I have to admit that I really didn't like their music very much, but today it sounds pretty good compared to what we're getting now. During Lent, the kids showed up very early in the morning for a breakfast hosted by the Hankses at the parsonage and a talk by Vernon before they went on to school. We fielded a basketball team supported by the churches at the YMCA, and we used Kings Hill Camp for retreats and a Christmas tree cutting adventure, and many kids went to summer camp. I'll add a little footnote here. During my first year on the job, our first child, Susan, was born. She went lots of places during the 6 years I was on the staff. She thought she was a member of the MYF, and they were so good to her. They would pack her around on their shoulders or play with her. I didn't leave the staff until my son was born in 1962. Susan also went pretty much everywhere with me. And she learned to take her naps on the floor. And I remember one night coming in, packing her, and one of the proper mothers who was at a meeting said, "That child should be in bed." And I said, "Well, shh, don't tell her. She doesn't even know she's maladjusted." And another footnote, the activities program became too large, and we had to divide it. Another lady took the adult groups, and I kept the kids. During that time, we were able to start 8 or 10 neighborhood Cub Scout dens with a fine den master. Things were different then, and I do emphasize that. Many mothers were not employed, and most parents were glad and able to help with whatever we asked. And the question would be, what did I want for the young people? I wanted our young people to be offered the opportunity to find the goodness that life offers and to personally commit themselves to developing behaviors that demonstrated compassion, usefulness, and loyalty. I wanted them to be respectful of their parents and thankful for their families. I particularly wanted them to develop personal prayer as a means of creating their own lives. We know that God knows all of our secrets. He knows all of our pain. And so I think the best prayer for any of us is to ask for guidance. There are so many avenues that youth long to respond to: citizenship, sportsmanship, generosity, reverence, dealing with anger, where is justice, and to justice, and to be trusted, you must be trustworthy. Every one of us has an obligation as a Christian to hold ourselves to the high standards that we want to teach. I am sure that the youth, people working with our youth today, recognize all of these openings for spiritual guidance in the young people that they're working with. In addition to sheltering my little family, the church has given me opportunities to serve in many ways that have enriched my life. I have done hospital visits and nursing home visits, organized readers, worked on evangelism, tried to expand fellowship opportunities, served on the official board, and teaching in the church school. In addition to having the wisdom and advice offered on many occasions to both Lou and me when the going got tough. The church has been the backdrop for many of our family celebrations, giving us the bread of life, if you will. We have had 3 baptisms, 2 weddings. We joined the church on Heritage Sunday and got our pins. We've had 2 wedding anniversary celebrations by the church. I became Mother of the Year 1 year. And now, the most important thing of all to me is that you are holding my hand as I go through the grieving process. What could be more important to me than that? I love this church and all that it stands for as Jesus' creation. And I invite you to also love this church. I ran across a quote this week that stayed with me. It said, "The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Let us never, ever, ever be indifferent to our church." Thank you for letting me share with you.